Welcome back to Real Talk with Susan Stone and Kristina Supler. We are full-time moms and attorneys bringing our student defense legal practice to life with real, candid conversations.
Today we're doing Real Talk Conversations. We're joined by Randy Rohde of 38 Digital Market.
You mean we're talking to each other? With Randy. Hi, Randy.
Yes, you're talking to each other. And I'm just kind of here along for the ride a little bit. So thank you for inviting me and having me part of the team here today. It really is an honor. And you folks have done really some remarkable things, I think, in what you do in your practice. I would love to hear a lot of that, but maybe to start us first, how about some background on the two of you?
Thanks. It's so funny. You take for granted what you have every day in your life. And Kristina and I are really lucky that we formed this team to represent students and families with legal needs with regard to their education or some other crisis. And we take a team approach in every aspect of what we do, whether it's building our business or serving our clients.
What's always so interesting to me, and I know Susan shares the same perspective, people have this perception of us that we have this wonderful team and business we've built and a friendship as well, because we're as close out of the office as we appear to be in the office. But it's not something that's just always been there. I mean, over the years, we've really worked hard to get to know each other and figure out our likes, our interests, our pain points, our weaknesses, and figure out how to grow with each other and really build a business together into what we both enjoy, and a business that taps into not only helping people, but also that brings us fulfillment.
I think that was really nicely put.
Yeah. And I know from past conversations with the two of you that you also highly, I will say, complement each other on the differences of your either specialties or the way that you just, or maybe better put to say your personalities. And it enables you, I think, maybe when you mix it all together, it's like an incredible team.
Well, I do want to say that we were a lot more different 10 years ago.
Absolutely. We're speaking for myself, a vastly different person.
Really. And we were different generations. We had different career goals. And as time went on and really working through things, I would say now we're like an old married couple in many ways, where we can complete each other's sentences. But it's the differences that make us more powerful and in many ways. And sometimes I miss that time where it was so vastly different. Of course, there's less clash, there's less conflict, but sometimes the growth was in the conflict.
Yeah, I would say that through really what has enabled us to achieve the success that we've reached and service our clients to the best of our ability is wrestling with each other and sitting in discomfort and having disagreements and talking things through and sometimes arguing through points to really arrive at the best result for our clients. But I think in order to do that professionally, there has to be a tremendous amount of respect for each other, and then also trust and a feeling of safety with each other, to feel confident, but then also to feel vulnerable and say, to oneself, it's okay to be wrong. Like, I don't have to have an ego here. Susan's right and I'm wrong, or vice versa. Or often it's even young associates that we're working with where we stop and pause and say, hadn't thought of that. You're right.
As the practice has grown, and maybe before I even approach that, so your practice is focused on student and athlete defense, specifically Title. Why don't you give us a little bit of background about Title IX and how that has, I think, matured as a law over the course of years?
Gosh, I mean, it started in 1972, and it is the statute that ensures that all students have equal access to their education and extracurricular activities. Really, I think the first application was making sure that there were equal opportunities in the field of athletics for both genders. Now, the primary application is to make sure that students attend college free from discrimination or sexual harassment or sexual assault. I would say that it is a large part of our practice, but by no means the only focus of our practice. We do a lot more than that.
What's interesting about Title IX on a personal level is that it's actually what, in many ways, brought Susan and me together. So for years, Susan, we were at the same law firm together, and Susan was doing education work and civil litigation, employment work, and I was essentially doing criminal defense exclusively. And as the government put out directives, dear colleague letters, really instructing educational institutions on how to implement Title IX on college campuses, organically, Susan and I just noticed we're both starting to get these calls from people with kids at school. There's this problem. What do we do? And over time, there was just significant overlap in the work we were doing, and we started to work together increasingly and realized we enjoyed working with each other. And it just sort of, there was that moment where you pause and think, gee, is there something really awesome happening right under my nose, and I need to like open my eyes and seize the moment. And it was really to Susan's credit that we ended up in a situation where we said, you know, let's conscientiously and consciously build this female partnership together.
And I do think one of the things we did, which was at the time really shocking for people, is we basically said, let's build this, and whatever comes in, we'll split the source. You know, law firms are businesses.
I would say, just for a little bit of background for those who aren't familiar with the ins and outs of law firms, the idea of origination is everything. So the lawyer bringing in the clients gets the origination credit. Different firms call it different labels. Right. But that is a very important part of becoming a partner and growing in the firm. And so this idea that two lawyers would split origination credits, regardless of whose contact brought the matter to the firm, we were met with a ton of resistance and many
comments.
Yeah, like,
why would you do this?
I think ultimately at the root of it was concern that like we were sort of bucking the system, and like, what if other people catch on and like other lawyers start doing this? Then what's going to happen to this whole system that's premised essentially on competition with one another?
That's funny, because that's exactly what I was going like, wow, have you started a new trend even at your firm at KJK or in the industry as a whole?
Well, the interesting thing, I don't know if we started a trend, and we're really very lucky to be at KJK, but what I would say is at the time, I had already started this practice and was very fortunate. I started my practice representing students with needs in special education, K through 12, to make sure the individual education plan or the 504 plan was really providing a free, appropriate public education. And then I was starting to get the Title IX cases in, and cheating cases and other types of student discipline, both at the K through 12 and the college level. I still have the diploma of a graduate student hanging on my wall. First case I won. And I had a marketing background. And I remember someone commenting, why would you want to, you're ahead in starting a business. And I knew that was just the beginning of a journey, and that Kristina's skill set as being an outstanding lawyer, not just an outstanding criminal defense lawyer, but really an outstanding practitioner, and the fact that she's so detail-oriented and she has such a passion for her clients, I would not grow without that skill set. So you let go a little and you get a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
That growth mindset is something that we've really made a point to guide our decisions over the years.
I like that. Even as she was saying that, folks, you can't see this because we're on audio, but they're pointing, yes, that was right. I love that. So as your practice has changed and matured, as the law has changed and become different, I think, over the course of the years, now, and you alluded to some of this already, but maybe talk about some of the typical cases or types of cases that you take on now in your practice. What does that look like?
Obviously, Title IX cases, which are allegations of sexual assault, sexual misconduct, stalking, sexual harassment. I think what has changed is that originally we were really only representing the accused, which were mostly male. However, we are finding more and more females are hiring attorneys. Wouldn't you say, Kristina?
And over the years, the clients who have been hiring us it's been interesting to see the path it's taken, and that we're being hired now. We represent many female complainants who are going through the process and recognize that they'd like to be served by a student advisor who's a lawyer. We also represent students in high school and grade school who are facing Title IX matters. But it doesn't stop there. Our practice is nationwide, and so we're representing individuals across the country who are facing different types of matters that Susan mentioned: student misconduct, academic integrity cases, hate, criminal cases. We actually do quite a bit of work in the field known as research misconduct. And so in that realm, it's actually quite different from what we do in the Title IX realm, but there's the same sort of legal approaches that guide the work. Academic integrity, academic research misconduct matters, we're representing researchers, professors who often have grants, often federal grants, used to fund research in labs, and there's been allegations of fabrication, falsification, plagiarism. And so there's a whole process internally in institutions, but also then externally at times with the federal government. And those are really interesting cases.
I have to say, Randy, a couple weeks ago, a new case came in. It's already concluded. We're waiting to hear the outcome of some college kids who got drunk and allegedly beat on a mascot at a professional game. I mean, who beats the mascot? Drunk kids. I smiled. I was so grateful for that case because those are the cases you want to see college kids get into, just little drunken shenanigans. I guess it's not that funny to the mascot. But since the pandemic, the cases we're seeing are just so serious and heavy. And I want to step out that I think what Kristina and I do is so much more than just being lawyers. We counsel both students and parents. So
such an important part of what we do
is working with parents. And oftentimes we're really giving difficult advice to parents on not only the strength of their a child's case, but they don't know how to manage their kids. And we've dealt with a lot of mental health issues. We refer students out for therapy or coaching, and we've dealt with a lot of suicide issues. And it's required us to actually broaden our scope of outside services so we can really make good referrals and also set better boundaries for us to get through the day.
And our own children. I mean, one thing that I love so much about our law practice is that on a regular basis, things unfold in the office at work, working on cases and with clients. And to be very blunt, we see a lot of really good parents. And then we also come across a lot of families where the parents, there's
They're
just
stuck.
so much. Yeah, the parents are stuck.
They're stuck.
From the outside perspective, of course, it's easy to say, oh my gosh, how could they have allowed that or done that or whatever it may be. And so after you go home at the end of the day and reflect, and it's really, I've learned so much that's helped me, I think, become a better parent with my own children. And so it's really nice that if I want to have the sort of work personal boundary firmly in place, I can. But then also if I choose to take a step back and reflect on how our work applies to raising my own children, I can do that. And I've learned so many lessons through working with our clients and then Susan's experience in the special ed world. It's really been awesome.
I love that you mentioned that about, and especially what I would say is kind of the value add, but beyond just practicing law with your clients. And I know this series of conversations that we're doing with your podcast, we're going to do and explore many different topics. And I think some of those topics are going to be some of these things that you mentioned and some of the advice and the insights I think that you can give to parents going through the various phases of parenthood and stages of their students' lives, whether it's they're in high school or getting ready to go to college or they're in college. I know from various conversations that we've had, you have really just an incredible amount of life experiences and guidance that you could really help parents. And so I'm just kind of giving that plug that future conversations that we're going to record and do are going to cover some of those topics as well. So I think it's highly valuable. And I love that you do that for your clients and your parents. I think that's
and
terrific.
Sometimes they don't love it.
No, I'm sure.
I don't.
Yeah. Really interesting how we've morphed. I would say that for better or for worse, I have a big personality. And
No, I hadn't noticed.
Oh my gosh. And we'll say Susan's going all Susan on someone.
I've affectionately coined a phrase, pulling a Susan.
Pulling a Susan. I mean, really, yesterday I was a student advisor in a case, and the student was being interviewed, and the questions were really sounding ridiculous. Well, what did this friend tell the other friend who told the other friend? And all of a sudden I looked, stopped, and I'm not supposed to speak, and I go, are we in 6th grade here? Can we please elevate the level of questioning here? So over the years, I've really learned how to be a better listener, how to deliver difficult advice that doesn't sound judgmental, but is very clear. And I think, and I would rather Kristina talk about this, how to set better boundaries and our boundaries.
Yeah, I think that it's interesting. People think of being a lawyer as being an advocate and being an aggressive mouthpiece for our clients. And while that is true, that's only one component of being a lawyer and servicing our clients. Truly, I think at the heart of being an effective counselor or advisor is listening. Listening is essential to so much in life. And of course, it's no surprise that's a key foundational piece for really being an effective lawyer. And over the years, with my background in criminal defense, I mean, from the get-go, I always, frankly, was having to give people bad news. So I've become quite skilled at delivering really devastating news to people, regrettably, but it's an important part of our practice and it's something that we have to do. And the idea of boundaries, though, is so important for our success because it's something we say to each other and it's something that we've both picked up going to yoga and in talking with various friends in our personal lives. Boundaries keep you safe. And so it's setting boundaries with clients, with each other, deciding when, there's times when you do allow the emotional spillover from work into our personal lives and home. And then there's other times where it's no matter what the situation is, it's like, I have to set a boundary. I mean, we're very accessible to our clients in the evenings and weekends, but sometimes it's like, I have to put up a boundary. I'm sorry that you're feeling, however you're feeling, but like, I'm not available right now. And setting those boundaries for ourselves, with each other, with clients has just actually enabled us to be better at what we do and also feel better. It's just healthy.
And we're really good at delegating. So we pride ourselves. There's always one of us. So I would say the first thing we always do is protect the partnership. And we sell ourselves as a team approach. And that is really to the benefit of the client. First of all, we both keep each other posted on what's happening, what we're working on, what the other person's working on. So if I need a weekend off or a day off, you can reach Kristina and vice versa, and both know what's going on, and so you don't skip a beat. We also value the input that the other person has in a case. So look, we know people are paying 2 rates, but we won't alter that basic model. And I think our clients really appreciate that because when we're getting a student ready for an interview, 2 people preparing that student for their interview, or when we're looking at evidence, what stands out to me may not stand out to Kristina. And we have different perceptions on how things should be phrased. Or sometimes we see a student stuck. They just keep melting down and we can't get them ready for the interview. And it sometimes that second voice, I think about it as parenting. You have 2 kids?
2 kids.
Just like you tag team with your wife, I'm sure, in parenting, we're dealing with kids and sometimes little kids, and they're crying and they're scared and they're melting down. And we step in, and who can reach them? And sometimes it might be a soft approach, and sometimes might be a tough up, and sometimes we just don't know what approach.
Right.
And I would say that we've really come to our belief in this approach and its efficacy in terms of yielding the best result to our client through trial and error. Many years ago, at times, clients would say, oh, I only want to work with Kristina. Oh, I only want to work with Susan. Or maybe they just say, like, I don't have the money to pay for both of you. And will you cut your rates? No, never. But it's a situation where, we'd say, okay, whatever. We'd work something out with the client. And we just came to realize that truly the best result for our clients is garnered through us working together and sort of struggling through something. Because sometimes I'll say something to a client 5 times and the client just can't process and generalize it. And Susan will make the same point a 6th time, but say it in a slightly different way. And all of a sudden there's that aha light bulb moment. And it's actually so rewarding and fulfilling to see that when we're working together and all of a sudden it clicks for the client. Or if we're in court doing an oral argument or whatever the circumstance may be, we have that breakthrough because one of us just brings something to the table that's just a little different. Sometimes it's a lot different, but then sometimes it's just a subtle difference that's what was necessary to move the needle.
I love the point that you made, and I think the comment is that what benefits the client the most is the two of you together, something like that. I'm paraphrasing, but yes. And so regardless of the two of you together and what you bring and work with each other and share in your experiences and your intellect is the best outcome, is the best potential service to your clients.
That is our product.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, what we're giving someone,
and that is your edge.
That is who we are.
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many wonderful attorneys in our space. We really are lucky that we have had the good fortune of meeting people across the country that also represent students, and we make referrals or we've called each other. But I do think what makes us different is who we are together.
Well, we love the phrase more power together because we really believe that by us working together, it's more power.
Yeah, yeah.
I should tell you, though, I don't think they're making fun of us. Do you think they call us in the office the ladies?
And it's so interesting, too. Or not interesting, but what's funny is that over
At
the
their
years.
own peril, I'm sure.
Well, we've been in, different settings, different law firms, you name it, different conferences. This isn't something we intentionally do, but we're just together and talking about our practice and what we do. And we've, time and again, have been coined the ladies. we've just love it now.
Yes, yeah.
You got to embrace it.
Absolutely.
Truth hurts, right? I guess it beats the alternative.
Yeah, right.
Far worse things I've been called.
Yeah, I could call you something different. So if somebody is beginning to struggle or they think that they might be having to deal with a potential Title IX and all of the various kind of subsets of that, when is the appropriate time to reach out to you folks or a Title IX attorney? When should you be brought into the situation?
Whether it's Title IX or any type of student misconduct case, because we, again, do a lot of different types. The minute you think you're going to be accused, don't wait. Sometimes the best work we do is even pre-charge.
I would add, if you're thinking about if you should hire a lawyer, you should hire a lawyer. Because there's a problem weighing on you and your child has exposure. We are regularly asked, well, there hasn't been any charge yet. There hasn't been a report to the police or complaint filed with the school. Is it too early? What could you really do now? And it's remarkable what we actually can do. Sure. And some of our best results are yielded by work that we've done very early on in anticipation of the storm hitting. The storm doesn't always hit, which is a good thing, of course. We say
like
the
an
best
insurance policy.
Best thing that could happen to you or your child is that you don't need us. But if the storm does hit, we're ready to go. And so there's a lot of things we can do in anticipation, even months and years anticipation.
Yeah, I just want to point out a lot of times it's much easier to get witness statements and talk to people who might have seen things, heard things before a case hits, because oftentimes once there's a formal proceeding, students get scared and they run away. And we've had cases where we were hired, took witness statements, gathered evidence, and the charge came in a year or two later, and we have the statements in the file.
Clearly, you have a tremendous amount of experience, and I think we're just beginning to scratch on some of this. And I'm So looking forward to this series, the Real Talk Conversations with Susan and Kristina, because there's so much information that you can share with the audience, with parents, with students. So looking forward to it. I thank you for inviting me to be a part of it as well.
This was great.
Thanks for listening to Real Talk with Susan and Kristina. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to our show so you never miss an episode. And leave us a review so other people can find the content we share here. You can follow us on Instagram. Just search our handle @StoneSupler. And for more resources, visit us online at studentdefense.kjk.com. Thank you so much for being a part of our Real Talk community. We'll see you next time.